It's interesting. A lot of people come up to me and tell me, I don't read books. And it reminds me when I was young, well, probably until I was in high school, I didn't read books either. I didn't like books. Probably because I grew up watching too much TV. But then around high school, my mother began to seduce me with really good books. And I got hooked. And of course, today I love books and I've written several. But what's interesting is that the end of the sentence of these people who tell me that they don't read is always, but I read your book. I don't read books, but I read your book and I couldn't put it down. And I get that. And of course, it's a great compliment that somebody who doesn't read books found my book to be compelling enough to sit and read it. And then, of course, I also have received really wonderful comments and humbling compliments from people who are great writers. So the whole spectrum, people who don't read and people who read a great deal and write themselves, people, of course, like Alice Walker and Seymour Hersh and others who are great writers, have said wonderful things about my book. So I want to show you something. So this is my book, obviously. This is the 10th anniversary edition, which is in fact the third edition of this book. It came out in 2012. Then we did a second edition in 2016. And then this came out in 2022 to commemorate 10 years since the book came out. And The General Son has been a great success and received a lot of accolades, I think because it has something to offer on the issue of Palestine that perhaps no other book has. And what I mean is that through my story, I was able to kind of weave through the reality of Palestine and the reality of Israel that many people have a difficult time weaving through. It's complicated for a lot of people. It's confusing. There's an Israel, there's a Palestine, who's right, who's wrong. And here we have a book titled The General Son. And as you can see, the subtitle is Journey of an Israeli in Palestine. So what's an Israeli? And where's Palestine? And if there's a Palestine, then where's Israel? Now, to be honest, I never heard Palestine referred to as anything else but Israel until I was, late years in high school. I knew that my grandparents who had immigrated to a country called Palestina. That's how they referred to it, or Palestina-Eretz Israel, or the land of Israel. But for me growing up, there was no doubt that this was Israel. And for many people today, it's true, whether they're Israeli, whether they're Jewish, whether they're anything else, the whole issue of Israel is obvious from the Israeli perspective. But of course, people know that there's a Palestine and people know that they're Palestinians. So how do you sift through all of this? Well, this book is a great way to weave that complicated, to go through this complicated path, because it starts off with a story of these immigrants who come to create Israel. And these are my family members, these are my grandparents. And so I talk about them with love and actually admiration. That's how I felt at the time. The story of my father, who was this young man born in Palestine in the early 20s. He was born in Haifa. Then he joins the Zionist militia, becomes an officer, and then, becomes a general, and is one of the generals of the 1967 war. A war that to this day people claim was a miracle, even though I debunk that in this book using authentic material from the military archives and things my father said and told me. And then there's a story of attempts at dialogue, attempts at peacemaking, the failures of dialogue, the failures of peacemaking. And it's not until the very end that there's a conclusion. And spoiler alert, at the very end, I do talk about what I believe, and many other people believe, is probably the only realistic, fair, and just conclusion to the story of Palestine/Israel. So I was, like I said, really lucky that I had wonderful, wonderful people, wonderful writers like Alice Walker, who wrote The Color Purple, and many other things. Not only write a blurb, but she wrote the foreword, and she dedicated a poem when the book came out, way in 2012. Great writer, journalist Seymour Hersh. And Susan Abu Hawa was a wonderful Palestinian writer. And on and on and on. Really names that are, that speak volumes because they have a wonderful reputation. Ralph Nader and others. And there's more on the inside. And again, between them, these people who are well-read and well-written, to the people that tell me they have never read a single book and they don't read, this book does something. And on the issue of Israel-Palestine, I feel it's a great tool to allow people to enter this sphere of Israel-Palestine and then find a way through it and hopefully reach a conclusion that will be fair and just and accommodate everyone, which I believe that's what the book suggests at the end. I know this book is difficult for Palestinians to read because I talk with such admiration about my father, about my ancestors, about other members of my family who were instrumental in establishing the state of Israel and running it in the beginning. And I know that's difficult. But at the end, the conclusion, the realizations, my realizations as an Israeli who traveled and discovered Palestine, I think are compelling enough that I know Palestinians agree with much of what I say. So it speaks to everyone. And so I want to invite you to buy the book. It's available on Just World Books, which is the publisher's website, and it's available on Amazon and other sites, of course. And to buy one for a friend who might be struggling with this issue. This is an issue that's touching the lives of Americans, of Europeans, of Arabs, of Muslims, of Africans, of people around the world, because Israel has had an impact on people in all these countries, as has Palestine. And as you can see behind me, the book was translated to several languages. It was translated to Arabic, German, Norwegian, Swedish. It was translated into Turkish recently. It was translated to Malayalam. And I hope I didn't miss anything. Spanish, it was translated to Spanish. And so it's available in all these different languages. And I'm getting requests for people who want to translate to other languages as well. I think it's been translated to Farsi as well. I'm not sure if they published it though. So anyway, this is a book, The General Son, Journey of an Israeli in Palestine. It's my first book. I have been led to believe by some very smart people, good people, that it's a really good read. And it's a really good guidebook, if you will, to the issue of Israel-Palestine, which, like I said, touches everybody's lives. So thank you for listening. Once again, The General Son, Journey of an Israel in Palestine. This edition, the 10th anniversary edition, which is really the third edition, is updated and has a new cover, and it's a high quality production, is what I'm saying. So get it for a friend. Thank you. Oh, and one more thing. After you read it, please write to me. Let me know what you thought. I'm available on all social media platforms. Or you can go to mikopeled.com and leave me a note there. So it's very easy to get hold of me. I always respond. Please, once you've read the book, send me a note. Tell me what you think. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. I'm happy to engage in a conversation. Thank you again.